Well, hello again. Um, yeah, I think it's entirely possible that I'm overreacting to the most recent criticism that I had. But at the same time, I have to recognise that quite possibly I'm not explaining myself or explaining the strategy well enough. I don't really know what more I could do because I've put up dozens, maybe even hundreds of demos by now over the last year or so, where I'm explaining the strategy bet by bet against baccarat and against blackjack. Those are the only two games that I'm interested in. But I think what happens sometimes is that people kind of dip in for like 2 minutes or so and then just go away because they think that the bets are too high or that the whole thing is rigged, or I just don't know. But anyway, I feel kind of bound to try a bit harder to explain myself, and so that's what I'm trying to do now. And it's kind of funny, really, because I have complained several times in recent demos that I haven't been getting as much feedback lately as I used to, and and then when I get a response from one troll who quite clearly hasn't watched the videos and who doesn't have anything to back his criticism, I'm just it's just one of those things. I mean, when you set yourself up in something like this, then obviously you're going to get criticized, and I, in my turn, have a pretty good go at the professional losers on YouTube who pretend that their gambling is as real as it gets and that there is actually money of theirs that's at risk. And of course, we all know that either they're being repaid by the casinos, which is doubtful, I think, but they're certainly getting far more back from Google for clicks and blah blah, than they're losing at the tables. And the ups and downs of the tables, of course, are part of the act. So it isn't right for them to say that their gambling is as real as it gets, and it isn't right for them to claim that they're not promoting gambling, that they're not leading lambs to slaughter, raking in, pulling in suckers to fall into the trap and leave their money behind when they leave the casino. I mean, there is no more definite truth about gambling games than that if you tackle them with an inadequate bankroll, then you have a lot less chance than if you tackle them with a real serious bankroll. That's it, really. Okay, so hello again, and this is where we currently stand with sessions against Baccarat Win Pro. And I think it's pretty darn impressive myself. I mean, this is since October 24th, and it's a hell of a lot of of time and effort. But then it's my choice to do it, and I'm happy to do it. I enjoy it, and I will continue to play through shoes from Baccarat Win Pro to demonstrate again and again and again that my very simple, uncomplicated, easy to learn pattern betting strategy is extremely effective against table games, which are by their nature biased against the player, resulting, of course, in more losses than wins over time. I mean, I actually have great fun doing this. I should have got bored, I suppose, but it keeps on working, and so I keep on playing. I'm used to all kinds of criticism going back to when I first put this strategy online almost 30 years ago. It was in September of 1996, and someone responded to the whole sort of win more thing. Me saying you have to win more when you win than you lose when you lose to compensate for the fact that over time you're going to lose more often than you win. And his response to that was, yeah, I get it. You bet more when you know you're going to win, and you bet less when you know you're going to lose. Now, here is somebody who like the most recent troll to attack me in pattern betting, offers absolutely no evidence, no numbers, no logic, no sensible explanation for their opposition to the idea. Just lots of stuff about how sims are unreliable and irrelevant and not the same as the real thing. So I just wanted to spend just a couple of minutes saying, as far as Baccarat Win Pro is concerned, every time I start a new shoe on this sim, I have no idea what's coming. I don't get to choose the shoes in advance. I don't get to have any say in anything, and the shoes themselves are all archived by the creators of this platform. Basically, they call it it's a training tool or something like that, but it is fantastic. It's very precise in its record keeping. It prevents any sort of hanky panky or fiddling or faking or cheating or whatever by anybody trying to manipulate the data that comes out of it. And the shoes themselves are archived from actual shoes that have been played out over many years in casinos, principally, I believe, in Singapore, but nonetheless, they are actual shoes with actual hands. And this is why when you go to the summaries, with the charts that show at the end of the session exactly what happened, down below you will find every single card listed and shown. And so it's more than a little irritating when somebody comes out of the woodwork to say, this isn't real, this isn't the same as real money, this isn't, I mean, it is actually the reason why I spend a lot of time tracking the professional losers on YouTube, the sort of Mr. Handpays and Vegas Mats and Bobby Rivas's and Degen Dolts and most amusingly of all, John Sirasani, the guy who claims to be the best blackjack player who ever walked the earth. I track their play and then I feed exactly the same outcomes into the pattern betting algorithm, and every time it wins, and they have some stupendous losses which are completely overcome by pattern betting. And I produce all this stuff and I put it up line by line, bet by bet, with charts and with explanations and with everything shown. And then some guy sitting in a bloody basement somewhere sort of says, no, that's not the same as the real thing. And if you believed in what you're doing, you would use real money and blah, 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 blah. Well, I did that for 30 years in Nevada. I lived in Nevada, in northern Nevada, for 27 years. And when I lived in Pasadena before that, I used to go to Las Vegas at least a couple of times a month on stories, because I was in the showbiz journalism field, syndicated all over the USA and all over the world. And I'd go over there to do interviews and so on, and of course would indulge myself in playing pattern betting. Back then I called it turnaround, but it's the same thing, at blackjack. I didn't cotton on to baccarat for quite a few years. I was in Nevada for about 10 years before I tried baccarat. But hey, I like it. It's a moneymaker, and the pit staff and dealers at baccarat and miniback are not paranoid in the way that dealers and pit critters are about blackjack, about how it can be beaten by card counters and so on. And I actually am not at all impressed with card counting. I have run my own very, very precise tests, and I don't find any advantage. And I'm in a sort of, like, I don't know, a league of my own there, at least according to what I see online, because endless promotions are seen for advantage players, they call it. People being booted out of casinos and other people saying, this is how you do this, and this is what Ed Thorpe said, and this is this is how it's done, and this is how you beat the odds, and so on. I met Ed Thorpe years ago at a backgammon tournament in Pebble Beach in California. Had a nice chat. Seemed like a really nice fella. And he was telling me then that he was working at that point, because by then the book had been out and was a success. He was working on a card counting strategy for baccarat. Now, I don't know whatever happened with that, but I did bump into a friend of his years later in downtown Las Vegas, George Williams, I think his name was. And he told me that he and a bunch of his buddies were playing baccarat the evening before, and I think the Aladdin, which is long gone, in Las Vegas, and they made several $1,000s, and weren't hassled or bothered by anybody. He said the beauty of it is that card counting is just assumed to be a waste of time at baccarat, and it's every bit as effective at baccarat as blackjack. I've not ever seen any proof of that, and I'm not interested myself, because I think card counting is a con. It's not a Democrat hoax, but it's definitely not what it's cracked up to be. These are 30 sessions. I'm not sure how many shoes were played here, but it's probably well over 100, adding all this lot together. And the sum of money here, I've covered this in one of my or couple of my prior videos, but I'll provide more information tacked on to the end of this one. But this is basically just me kind of trying to remind everybody, and also remind myself, I have no control over what comes at me from Baccarat Win Pro. The creators of this thing would happily confirm that if somebody contacted them and asked them about it. They're not in any way tied to me, and I'm not tied to them in any way, so there's no skin off their nose if they were to say, yes, you can do that by doing whatever. But there isn't any way. The only thing you can do is that after you've accessed a shoe that's come at you randomly, you can replay it. You can choose to replay it. And I have done that on occasion, because from time to time I get into deep shit because I try to make an adjustment to pattern betting, and I think, well, I wonder what would happen if so-and-so. And so then I play it through, because there's no point in just doing it over a few hundred rounds. You got to play it to the death point, to the cliff edge and over it, So I've had some big losses that resulted from me pissing around, just for my own interest, sort of saying, well, I wonder if instead of doing what I've been doing for years, I were to do this. And then I always end up going back to pattern betting as you see it explained to you in these videos. Hundreds of them now. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But to me, it's building the integrity, proving the integrity and accuracy and honesty and decency and respectability and so on of a strategy which is basically terribly simple, completely logical, has nothing whatever to do with predicting or reading shoes or anything like that. It is simply responding to what we all know exists, which is ebb and flow. 2 losses, 2 wins. 3 losses, 1 win. Back and forth, back and forth. And what bankrupts people in casinos is volatility or variance, where suddenly everything goes tits up. The dealer just keeps winning and winning and winning, and the player who doesn't have a big enough bankroll is blown to bits, blown out of the water. Game over for him, because he doesn't have enough money to last him through volatility, which is temporary. It always is. But he doesn't understand that, because he doesn't study the game, because he doesn't really understand what he's up against, what he's dealing with, which is just Alexa, stop, which is just numbers, and I'm sorry about the repeated interruption of Alexa, but she's part of my life these days. I have to be reminded about drinking water and taking pills and taking the dog for a walk. Oh, wait a minute, the dog died. Everything, sort of like time to have a beer at night. But that's how it is. Once you get on a bit, you need a little nudge here and there. And I used to have a lovely nudge who unfortunately was taken from us all, the whole family, 5 years ago. 5 years ago last month. So, anyway, enough of that. This is serious business, and it is a business. Business, 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 business. And I say that over and over again. And just to repeat the simple fact, I have no control over what comes at me with this simulation, platform, training tool, whatever. And that's how it is. So anyway, I'm going to kick off on a new shoe and then go and get some breakfast, I think. Boy, you do see life when you plug into these things or turn them on, right? So it's Tuesday, December the 9th, and let's go. All right, we've got to go fast. And just in case anybody has any doubt, I didn't pick this shoe. It is frustrating, though, when people just they just attack for the sake of doing it, and they don't think it through. They don't offer evidence. They don't do anything to support their argument, and it's childish, really, isn't it? $51, 2, 3, 5, 6. Oh, 11, 6. Okay, so we're going to go over to the banker. Okay, now it's got to be 5, 7 because we don't want to be caught with commission. Oh, that didn't work, did it? So now we're going to do 2, 3 in 500s. And then 5, 6. Do I want to run away? It's not going very well, is it? It's actually even. All right, I'll do the 5, 6, and then I'll run away. That didn't work either, did it? 11, 6 is going to put us at 6, 7 in thousands on player in the next shoe. Yeah, once in a while, I'll hit a really, really bad patch, where I just can't get the flow, the groove sorted out. And I don't know in advance where it's going. I just want to be with it. And so I keep moving around until I catch it, catch the flow. Okay, 6, 7. We're in long grass very fast this time, aren't we? Damn it. 6, 7, 13, 15. We'll make it now. There we go. And I did not know it was coming. Damn it. I just wish, that when people criticize, that they'd actually, do it constructively, prove something, produce some counterbalance to the evidence that I'm providing all the time in these videos. But they can't do that because the evidence doesn't exist. There is no evidence that proves that pattern betting doesn't work. It just isn't there. Okay, double for the, or plus 1 rather. 51. 2, 3. God, we are not anywhere near it this time. 5, 6 again. All right, we're out of that one. Back to the min. Yeah, I track the professional losers on YouTube simply because, to counter any claim that I know what's coming. I have no control over what DJ Dolt does or what um, King John Sirasani does. I I take their outcomes, record them meticulously, and play pattern betting against them, and bingo, PB wins. The algorithm wins every time. Has to work very hard sometimes, but that's all right. That was a repeat, by the way. So now back to the min. That's a repeat. Minimum. Yeah, I think Baccarat Win Pro is worth a look for anybody who's serious about Baccarat, because it is incredibly precise and very, very accurate. And all the shoes can be examined. Every single card can be sort of, logged against 8 decks. It's like the Wizard Blackjack sim, same thing. And I've checked both of them exhaustively. I go to a lot of trouble, and this is why I do get a bit pissed off when somebody comes out of the woodwork at me and trolls. Is that 51? 51. 2, 3. 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Minimum. $51. 2, 3. Minimum. Two, 3. God, this is really hard work this time. I'm kind of glad of it, actually. Back to the min. Double for the tie. God damn it. 1, 2. Back to the min. 51. Repeat. Back to the minimum. Plus 1. 51. 2, 3. Minimum. Ah, 51. 51. No, oops. No. 1, 2. Minimum. Double for the loss. Repeat. Where am I? Who am I? Double for the tie. Good enough. Minimum. Double for the loss. 1, 2. Minimum. Double for the loss. 4. 7, 8. I've fallen behind here, so we might have to run away again. 5 over here is a problem. 7, 8. Damn it! 15, 8. We'll have a bash with banker. Okay, so that's I'm going to run away right now. 15-8 is 2.5-3, so that's what we'll do on player. Never start a new shoe with a banker bet. And whatever you do, don't copy Vegas Matt and banker all the time. It's so ridiculous. Okay, so 2.5-3 on player. Let's call it 3-4. Oh no, I must have known that was coming, right? Okay, we'll play this to 20 and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, the people who criticize, and I don't get that many, So I suppose that's what that's why I always feel I need to respond very fully when I'm attacked. They don't bother to try the strategy. They don't bother to look into it. They don't bother to do anything except come out with dumbass remarks. It's very sad. Where am I now? That's got to be double for the tie, right? And that's got to be fall back to the plus max. That's my choice. I don't go above 5 units on a winning streak. Try it again. All right, we only got one, so we'll repeat that. We got it, so back to the min. $51. Repeat. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Back to the min. +1. Repeat. Double for the tie. Is that 1, 2? I lost myself there. Oh yeah, it's 1, 2. Sorry. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we are with number 20. How about that? Okay, so I'm out of this. This is it's not that much play, to be honest, but it was a lot of squitter at the beginning. What have we done here? 11 wins to 7 losses. The last one, I don't even know what the story was there. We'll know in a minute. But we've got a session balance of 6,700. Average win over average loss. I mean, look at the difference here. But obviously, because the first bet was 4,000, wasn't it? So that does make a difference. So we just made 650 on this shoe on its own because the 4,000 was a rollover or carryover from last time. But please trust me. Oh God, I have to stop myself from saying that because I hear lying politician. I'm telling you the truth, all right? When I say to you, I have no control over this thing. I love it to bits because it is so precise and because it is so transparent, so that anybody who has any doubt has an opportunity to evaluate the strategy fairly, logically, accurately, decently, honestly, etc. Rather than taking pot shots from some dark hole somewhere. With absolutely no proof, nothing, So that's it. I'm going to close this. Nearly forgot to do that. We'll go and have a look at the shoes. Let's see what we got. All right. So today, let me just pull this up to the top. And I'll pause for a moment while I just clean up here. Obviously, I'm biased, but I mean, it seems to me you don't have to watch one of these demos for very long to see that the strategy is viable and works, and is not being fiddled or faked or whatever. Let's see what we got in terms of pictures. Ran away from this one really quickly. What was this? This was 5-8. I'm going to stop again for just a sec while I scribble some stuff down here. Yeah, it's all right. I just need to know for the next step how many ties there were in the section that I played, and exactly how many bankers and how many players there were overall if I'd played the shoe to the end. And here's where you see that the shoe is in existence ahead of me being randomly presented with it. I'm not in any way privileged to know what's coming, and I wouldn't want that, because what would be the point? This is something else that I don't get, is, with these people who don't think things through. I mean, they should ask themselves, well, this guy has obviously got his head up his arse. Why is he doing this? What is his motivation? Because everybody has an agenda. Everybody has a motivation. Mine happens to be, I want to get the word out that you can beat these games, but you can't beat them with your money. So keep your money. Stay home. Stay out of this bloody quicksand, this shithole, which any casino is to anybody who doesn't have the money to actually tackle the games with half a chance of beating them. That's the message I'm trying to get out. And that's all I've been doing for years. Never charged anybody for it. Never will. And it is simple. It is not a complicated strategy. It's not one of these sort of like, step forward, step back, blah, 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 do this little dance over here. I mean, there's a guy, Greg somebody, Casino MatchFaker, I call him. He's just constantly putting up what he calls strategies, but they have no basis in mathematics, no basis in logic or anything. They are just different ways for the casino to persuade people to come in and lose their money, because each has exactly the same overall odds against it as the game. If you just threw chips around randomly, it's just the same. It's like a single zero roulette. It's, what is it, 2.6% against you or something? For baccarat, it's half that, about 1.3%. And for blackjack, it's a little bit less than 1%. But none of that matters, because what really puts money in the casino coffers is stupidity, ignorance, a half-assed attitude to games, and a thirst for so-called free cocktails, which are provided not as a service, but to get players even more stupid than they were when they first sat down. All right then. So this time, plus 24. Oh, hang about. Okay then, so there's that one. 24 wins, 29 losses. We still came out with a profit at the end, as you can see from the shoe balance down the bottom there. But it got shitty, so I ran away. That's what you have to do, and you can do it any time. But there's not much point in doing it too often, because it just becomes tiresome. But it won't hurt you. So at least let me get this straight. Sometimes it will hurt you, and sometimes it will help you. But it will make you feel better. All right, so this was a truncated shoe simply because I got to the 20th round. All right, and I just played this one to 20 rounds because I had a fairly extensive piece to spit out at the very beginning. This is a long video, much longer than usual. There you have it. All right, so I will add on the Excel analysis in a bit. Bye bye. All right then. So today's three shoes, and today being, as you can see at the bottom there, Tuesday the 9th of December. The last three shoes, the most recent three shoes just this morning. Again, I like them because there's a negative here. In the end, we beat a house edge against us of 4.3%, turned that into a win of plus 15.3% player edge. The indicated result, when you take that and multiply it by the total action, the indicated result is a loss of 1,900, and instead we won 6,695. But who's counting? What else here? Average win across the three shoes, 630. Average loss, 420. Average win value over average loss value, 150%. That always speaks for itself, I think, but maybe I should be a bit more aggressive about sort of sticking up for that whole concept. But what we're looking at here is 1.7 overall. This is 160 shoes. A house edge of 1.7% against us should have caused or should have resulted in a loss given this action of 55,000, and instead we're now at 390,000 ahead, 12% overall. That's the win percentage as a percentage of the total action. Here we see that the wins over losses is minus nearly 2%, minus 1.88%. And then overall over here, and this is very important, average winning bet across the 160 shoes is 575. Average losing bet, 434, so that average win value over average loss value is 132%. I've done, obviously I've produced the charts, which I'll show you now. This is how we're looking with this set of 160 shoes. Pretty bloody good, I reckon. But I think I'm probably overreacting to the latest troll because I haven't seen many of them in the last few years. I think largely because, it's become impossible for these people to throw numbers at you that you're not able to double check yourself. I mean, in my earliest days, 30 years ago nearly, on the internet with pattern betting, which was then called turnaround, people would hurl numbers at me, and because I didn't have their computing power, because they were in the business, they were in showbiz. In showbiz, no, in the gambling biz, they had all their fancy computers, and they would produce reams of stuff that showed that the strategy that I described couldn't possibly work. And of course, the first thing I discover is, as soon as I asked them not for a summary, but for a line-by-line breakdown of the bets, I would see that they were not applying the strategy properly or accurately. They were tilting it in their favor. And of course, it's become harder and harder for people to do that because now Excel and faster computers and all the rest of it. I mean, I'm still using my less fast computer, which is about 4 years old now, and which constantly breaks down. I've got a brand new one, opened but unplugged in, ready to roll, which is about 5 times as powerful as this one. But I figure it's a big faff to switch everything over from one computer to the new one. So I'll stick with this one until it finally goes up in flames or whatever, because obviously everything is backed up in the cloud. Now, the other thing that I wanted you to see is over here. This is the most recent sessions, not including today's, because this sort of thing I can't update as regularly as easily. But this shows that from yesterday, December 8th, going back to October 24th, we won a total of 381,000, an average of 2,400 per shoe. Some of the shoes obviously were ditched, gagged, dropped, DBO'd, whatever. But what you see here is you see a house advantage overall of 2.5.1%. So that's against us. That's a house edge against the player. And taking the total action, which is here, multiplying that by minus 2.51%, you get a predicted or indicated loss of 131,000. And in fact, we won 381,000. So that's pretty damn good. Now, the next one is going back a further, it takes us back to August, okay? And in that period, I was doing a lot of demos with biking over to blackjack. As soon as I got into deep shit in baccarat, I'd say, uh-oh, and run over to blackjack. And the reason why that was a sensible thing to do was that working on the assumption that I would not even tackle this without a big bankroll, the big bankroll that I'm always talking to you guys about, okay? I want to run to blackjack because over there, the max is 100,000. And in the sim, the baccarat sim, the BW Pro sim, the max is 50,000. And this, of course, is how the casinos get you. You know, they apply table limits which prevent people who aren't thinking properly from being able to recover their past losses. What those people don't think about is, okay, supposing you were using something stupid like a martingale, and supposing it were possible for you to start with a $10 bet, okay, a minimum bet. So you'd be going 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, 640, 1280. And after 1280, you'd be stuck because the table limit for a $10 starter would be a max of 2,500. So, you know, somebody who doesn't know the numbers and doesn't understand what they're up against might say, oh, okay, well, I can't place the next bet, so I'll just bet the table max. That's terrible. That's suicide, because then you fall right into the quicksand. You are completely at the mercy of the house advantage. What you do, or what you would do if you were doing this for a living as a business, you would say, okay, can't place the next bet that I need to bet because it would be over the table limit, because it would be whatever I just said, it'd be over the top anyway, over 20. You go to another table where you can place the bet, or another casino, another bloody country if necessary. But you know, you're running it as a business, and it is a rapidly profitable business. So your bankroll is building all the time, and you get to the point where, you know, you're pretty much unbeatable. Never ever think that you're unbeatable, but you're hard to beat with a big bankroll. Unless, of course, you're playing like your Dana Whites or your Steve Will Do It's or your Crazy Cody's, you know, where you basically flat bet huge sums and win and lose huge sums, and in the end you're a loser. But what matters here is that the blackjack situations, when I got to that, I turned around here with a win of 85,000 at blackjack, turned around here with a win of 100,000 at blackjack, turned around here with a win of 95,000. And each one of those is covered here. You know, I'm showing you the record from, and obviously, yes, it's absolutely true. I could have typed this in myself because this is not entered by the program, by the sim. These are my entries, but each one of these big blackjack wins, biking as I used to call it, over, and I still do actually, but I don't put it in videos anymore. Each one of those biking videos exists and is on the channel right now. So, you know, we're looking at 68,000 down here, 85,000. 83,000 down, offset by a win of 100,000, and this one here, 63,000 down, offset by a win of 95,000. and each one of those has a date on it. So you can see 29th of September, so that's on the channel. 20th of October, that's on the channel. And 8th of September, that's on the channel. It's all there, you know. So, you know, I do get a little bent out of shape when somebody comes at me without any backing, without any logic, without any evidence. But you know, that's what trolls are about. And if it hadn't been this latest guy, I mean, he writes kind of in a way that suggests that he's probably not working for a casino. Oh, and I meant to add his latest little contribution, so I'll do that now. Yeah, all I'm saying is that this guy probably is not a casino insider, which many of the trolls that I had to deal with in the past tended to be, because they would fire these kind of like bunches of numbers at me, which I couldn't possibly respond to 30 years ago, you know, because I didn't have computers like the ones that they had in their offices. And of course, they gave themselves away by doing what they did, because only somebody, you know, working in a business that had to have computers to do all the work that they did in what do they used to call it, um, risk assessment, I think they called it, something like that. But anyway, they would examine every game that was pitched at them, and they would look at every kind of like set of numbers that came, you know, from somebody who was winning too much, and examine all the stuff and run it through computers and so on and so on. And back then, I didn't have access to anything but what the hell was I using back then? It was something like I think it was a Xerox 820. Maybe I'd upgraded from the Xerox 820 by then, but it certainly wasn't much, you know. And now all of these computers are sort of like, you know, they bloody hell, they are absolutely amazing. But anyway, that's this guy, you know, and he doesn't write as if he's somebody with, you know, with a lot of background in anything really. I mean, there is no explanation on his part other than saying, you know, I mean, he'd be the guy who'd tell Henry Ford, when Henry Ford proudly produced his first Model T, he'd be the guy on the sidewalk looking at it and saying, well, that's never going to work. Nah, nobody'd ever buy one of those. That's rubbish, you know, without sort of being able to explain exactly why or exactly what his proof was, and so on. So that's this gentleman, or maybe it's a lady, I have no idea. Somebody who's an ace, apparently, it says. Anyway, there you are. You know, you can. It's as I always say. You know, you you have the right to make your own judgments, all you folks out there, and I have the right to continue to say, look, you know, in this particular set here, yes, in this lot, a baccarat came out a loser. You know, minus 28,581, minus 1.5% against minus 3.7%. But with the blackjack escape route, ba-bum, 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 you know. So anyway, whatever. I'll be back eventually, I'm sure. Well, probably quickly. See ya.